Please help us use good judgment, listen fairly, and work together to come to the best solutions for our city. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thanks, Diane. So, let the minutes reflect Councilman Londaris is gone. There are 6 here tonight. Any action that's taken will require 4 votes. Let's go to the approval of the minutes from July 1st. Those have been presented. You had a chance to take a look at those. Any changes?
I move to approve.
I'll second that.
All right. Any further discussion?
I shouldn't do that, I wasn't here.
It's all right, you're on.
I did read the minutes.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thank you. So tonight we've got 3 organizations that the city is intimately involved with. Excel Links, if you remember, is a musculoskeletal accelerator that's continuing to advance. The city, through the Tech Park increment that we collect, are allowed to support, as we have done, as the county has done, as Allen County has done, as IADC has done, the development of the Excel Links accelerator. Part of our requirements is that Dave and Brad come from OrthoWorks and just give us an update on Excel Links, and I'll ask them to go first tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. We appreciate the opportunity to be here. I'm going to do what I do best, which is talk fast for a minute or so and then turn it over to somebody who really knows what they're talking about. I did want to just mention a couple things that OrthoWorks is doing. Excel Links is an initiative of OrthoWorks. We launched it in 2016, about at the time of the Zimmer Biomet merger, to try to make sure we captured smart people and talent and innovative ideas to hopefully find the next Zimmer or Biomet or whatever, but to get more startup and innovation activity. I did want to mention one thing that we're doing at OrthoWorks, a repeat of what we did in 2018. We ran a program in conjunction with National Manufacturing Week, where we organized a week-long event where 8th graders were exposed to manufacturing principles in the classroom, and then one day they had an opportunity to tour one of 6 manufacturing locations, so Zimmer Biomet, DePuy Synthes, Medtronic, et cetera, and Polywood up in Syracuse. And they also toured their Career Tech Center. For Tippy, Whitco, and Warsaw schools, that would be the Warsaw Area Career Center. And for Wawasee, they have their own. They also toured the Ivy Tech Orthopedic and Advanced Manufacturing Training Center out across from the main Ivy Tech campus, and learned about that training and education opportunity and dual credit and other ways to access that training. So we're going to do that again for 8th graders in 2019. We have an intern team upstairs, not at the moment, but upstairs, working on a separate event for high school sophomores. So it'll be kind of a continuation. We hope to do 8th grade, and then the freshman year is a lot of state-required career exploration, and then we hit them again as sophomores, the opportunities in advanced manufacturing in the area. So doesn't have to be orthopedics, and a lot of orthopedic jobs, and a lot of open orthopedic manufacturing jobs, as well as all kinds of manufacturing jobs. So I just wanted to plug those 2 things that we're doing. We did last year, and we'll be doing again this fall in October. But on to the most important part of what we're doing here. As the mayor mentioned, Excel Links was created in 2016. The idea is to put consulting resources, mentors around people with ideas, with the hope of growing them up either here in Warsaw or Northeast Indiana, or having them use the vast resources that we have here in the area, contract manufacturing, other kinds of services that we have in Warsaw and Kosciuszko County in an abundance that no place else in the world has. So Dave Anderson, my partner in crime here, is one of our consultants who really runs the day-to-day Excellence operation, and he can tell you about the others who are involved and what we've been up to over those past 3 years. So
Great.
take it away, Dave.
Thanks, Brad, and thank you for the opportunity to give you an update. Good news is Brad's already covered my first slide, so we just saved a couple of minutes for everyone right there. Can everyone hear me okay? So far, so good? All right, terrific. So there are a couple of things that we do. As Brad just mentioned, we provide consulting services to existing companies. So that's what this slide's about, the kind of support that we give. We've engaged 64 entities since we started in March 2017. 6 of those are from the Warsaw area, and I think overall that just shows the kind of interest in what we're doing. We've had consulting engagements with 11 entities so far to support their development and growth, 4 from the Warsaw area. We have pending engagements with 2 other companies in the local area, and our consulting team has now expanded to nine people. We have 2 of our current clients are considering relocation of all or part of their business to the state and the Northeast Indiana region. One of those is looking at Kosciuszko County, and it alone may support 160 new jobs over the next 4 years if it elects to locate here. So we're excited about that opportunity. And I'm working with KEDCO, IDC, and Elevate Ventures to try to entice them to come to the area. We've also introduced some of our clients and other contacts to local and state resources, suppliers, banks, academic institutions to promote business there. 2 of our introductions to suppliers may deliver $25 million in supplier revenue. 1 introduction to an academic institution may result in a $300,000 plus animal study, and that's at Purdue University. We've assembled a database of 205 technical service providers and suppliers in the local area, well, nationwide, 125 of which are in Northeast Indiana, all cater to med device and orthopedic companies. We routinely engage with state, regional, and local EDCs to share and collaborate on economic development opportunities. So that's what we're doing for existing companies. Outside of that, and more recently, we've been focusing on new company creation, and so we're looking for intellectual property that we can acquire as Excellinks and put a team around it and build businesses here right in Warsaw. We've looked at 26 different IP opportunities so far. We've engaged with universities from across the state, and that's Purdue Fort Wayne, IU, Notre Dame, Ball State, Rose-Hulman, and Trine University. All geared towards trying to assist entrepreneurs and researchers there in the further development of their technology. And all of these provide opportunities for us to look at their intellectual property and early give them some advice and hopefully good advice that may pay off in an opportunity to acquire the IP later. So we've provided guidance to 20 different university-based inventors, largely through face-to-face meetings. So we go to all these universities 2-3 times a year and spend time with their inventors. We've made introductions to clinical and preclinical collaborators over that time. Our consultants are also advisors to the Purdue University Trask Innovation Fund. In particular, we look at musculoskeletal health opportunities that they've developed there. And one of our consultants leads the Industrial Advisory Board at Purdue Fort Wayne for their College of Engineering. More recently, we've been exploring the opportunity to have an unmet needs discovery program that would be held in conjunction with Parkview Health and IU. The goal of this, or the next step, once you uncover the unmet needs, is to then put teams together that would focus on developing novel solutions and intellectual property for those needs or unmet needs. And then lastly, we've been investigating potential for a musculoskeletal health startup boot camp style educational program, which is a time-intensive, labor-intensive process to further develop business plans for orthopedic med device companies. and that would be with support and input from Notre Dame's Idea Center. Capital is usually one of the critical components to a startup's health, and so we've got a number of folks that have been involved in helping source capital. This continues to be a challenge for a lot of startups and one of the impediments to our further engagement with startups. But we have made some strides there. We have a grant writer on staff, and she was successful in helping one of our clients obtain an SBIR Phase 1 grant, and that's a local company here in Warsaw. We've been working on putting together an early stage investor network, sometimes called an angel investor network, and we continue to do that work. Some of those angel investors have invested in some of our client companies. We've been exploring the viability of raising a dedicated venture capital fund, which is slightly later stage investment. Before that, though, comes angel investment and then seed fund as well. We've been establishing relationships with existing venture capital organizations that are located all over the United States and internationally that are active in investing in musculoskeletal health companies. We've been exploring potential for a strategic partnership with, it says here, capital sources aligned with Excellink's mission, and in particular what we're talking about is Elevate Ventures. We have a meeting with them in the next couple of weeks. And then lastly, exploring strategic partnerships and collaborations with strategics, and by strategics I mean OEMs. Looking forward, our plan is to grow consulting revenues through increased promotion and networking and direct outreach is our primary means of engaging clients. It works the best. We brought on a new commercial affairs consultant. We'll be leveraging their bandwidth to help us in those efforts, and we're attending more industry conferences in which to network and reach out to potential clients. We're leveraging our growing network for economic growth opportunities, whether it's companies that are relocating to the region or for supplier and service provider utilization. We're working with local stakeholders, including the city, to establish an expanded Excellink's facility at the North Buffalo Street project. And the goal there is to attract new businesses to the region or better support those that already exist here. Lastly, furthering our efforts to create new startups, and it's continuing to build relationships with the universities that I mentioned earlier, but also extending our outreach efforts to universities outside the state that have a reputation for prolific research efforts in our field. And then outside of universities, we're looking at private institutions such as Parkview Health that have a desire for innovation and its implementation. So that's the sum total of our activities to date and a bit of a view into what we're doing looking forward here over the next 12 months. Any questions?
As a layperson, when you talk about acquiring intellectual property, does Excellink's actually then patent that, or do you find the company that's interested in developing it and then they go further in the process?
Well, it hasn't happened yet, but the goal would be that we would acquire existing intellectual property. In the instance where we're working with universities, we could be at an early enough stage where we could influence what is patented, so we do have an opportunity to assist there. But generally speaking, we would acquire a license to a patent that's already been developed.
Okay.
All right.
Questions? All right.
Good. Well,
Thank you very
thanks.
much.
Thank you very much.
My
You
pleasure.
know, again, just to remind you, when Governor Daniels set up these tech parks, the whole idea was to utilize that increment to try and create accelerators to develop high-tech manufacturing within those parks. And this has been, I think there's about 20 parks in the state of Indiana. Jeremy and I are going back down to Indianapolis tomorrow to meet with a group from IEDC to get updated on the progress of a lot of these parks and the future of the funding and increment. I don't call it a donation, it's the increment that's being pushed our way for these parks, specifically for these types of activities. And we're really happy that OrthoWorks is, through Excellink's, is helping us meet that need that the governor, a couple governors ago set out, and is continually being supported was by Governor Pence and Governor Holcomb. So again, thank you very much, Brad, appreciate. Yep, so, any questions regarding Tech Park and increment and that type of funding mechanism for this? And those are the funds that we used to support Excel Links and their development, so.
And you're thinking about putting a new property on North Buffalo rather than out at the park?
There's never really been we weren't going to put if you would call it a co-working space or an accelerator physical facility at the park. Typically, those are separate. Up at Notre Dame, Innovation Park and Ignition Park are two separate, and that's typically the way it goes. So as far as right now, it's a virtual accelerator, if you will.
Right.
That work is all being done virtually, but the need for some brick and mortar and some co-working space is probably the next step.
Okay.
So. All right. Well, next, Chris Harrison from Indiana American Water. Chris came to see me this week and had some updates on what they're doing statewide and then locally. You know, it's always interesting. Folks think that municipal water is municipal water, and quite frankly, the city doesn't provide the water, as you all know. It's a private utility, and Chris runs the utility here locally and wants to share tonight some of the things that are going on with Indiana American Water as they relate to our citizens and our community. So, Chris?
Well, there's two items I want to address tonight. One, we did receive a rate case resolution with the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission, and I would like to start off with talking about that. We did have a filing in just about September 14th of 2018. IURC did come through with a filing for us with an increase of 7.9%, and that will be staged out in two stages. One that will occur here July 1st, and then the other one in 2020. On the back side of the sheet, you will see the impact to the residential customers in Warsaw. The first step will see a 0.96% increase with an average bill of $34.84 going to $35.17. And then with the second phase, the increase would be to $35.87. And that's based on 4,000 gallons of usage per month. In a utility, it's kind of like a double-edged sword because we've got a increasing demand for our infrastructure improvements. We have an aging infrastructure, so you guys deal with that on the wastewater side. And then we got a declining usage. Meaning, back 20 years ago, the average demand by a customer was 160 gallons per day. Now we're down to 140 gallons per day. And, you know, that's contributed to high-efficiency toilets, faucet sinks, you name it, just efficiencies in the operations. So with that, you still have the capital investment that you've made that you still have to pay for. And you still have your own costs that are needed accordingly. But with that being said, we have invested since 2014 $4.3 million into the system, and I'd like to go over there as the next step. I'd like to talk about some of the projects that have occurred is the Market Street project, the first phase, and revamping, moving the water infrastructure accordingly for that. McKinley Street, that was retired an old 2-inch galvanized, and that main was approximately 80 years old. Galvanized has a service life around 50 years, so you know we're encroaching upon that point where we're going to get total failure. So it was getting to the point, hey, we need to make a difference. Sylvia's Crossing, we did have a relocate. That was a learning lesson there because that main really wasn't that old. That was put in back in 2000, not under my watch, but needless to say, we had to relocate that because it wasn't going down to road depth. The Lincoln Street project had multiple failures on that area, and then West Center Street. The West Center Street, which was placed last fall, that main as of today would be 115 years old. So it served the community well, but it never really had good fire protection in those neighborhoods. So obviously we want to make a difference when we do the upgrades. We want to make sure we have adequate fire flow. We want to protect those neighborhoods accordingly. North Bay was another failure point. We had multiple main breaks in that area, so that was completed as well. One of the concerns that we do when we go through these new developments is that we're upgrading that asset for the extended life, meaning we want that longevity. We don't want that quick fix. We want material that's going to have a long service life, services that are upgraded, that meet the modern standard, and we want a minimum of 75 years life out of that water main. Okay, will we get 100 out of it? I hope so. Okay, and hopefully that what the due diligence we're doing today is going to surpass into the future. And that really just drives down your overall cost, because the cost that we incur today is going to be 10 times more expensive in the future. And, you know, both the water and the wastewater facilities that I ran, Rod, and that seems to be the common theme here, is that if you wait or you put a Band-Aid on it, you're going to pay for it in the future. One of the other things that we were looking at in the past is that with new development, how do we control the installation of the water main? How do we improve upon that performance to get that 100-year, that 75 minimum life standard that we're looking for? We do have a full-time inspector on those developments now. That way we can assure that we're getting the product, or better yet, the customer's getting the product, that they're not having to go and revisit it in 10 years. With that being said, we continue to invest here in Warsaw. Some of the issues that have been brought up in the past is lead services. We've been very proactive here in Warsaw since 2007. My experience in utilities has indicated that, hey, lead is not healthy. It's the health risk that we deal with today, and we're going to aggressively attack that. So with that being said, we're below 100, 150 services that may have lead goosenecks. And I say may, because I really don't know what's in the ground. But with that, since 2007, we've aggressively attacked over 100 services, and now we're dropping off to 40 to 60 replacement services a year, to the point that we should have any remaining lead goosenecks, identified lead gooseneck services cleaned up in the next 4 years. It's a great story to tell. That's 0.5% of the services here in Warsaw Moynihan Lake. So we've been very proactive in that, and we were proactive in that before Flint, Michigan ever occurred. So we want to keep that story moving forward. Now, we do still do our triennial review on our lead and copper to see if there's any type of corrosive action that may be leaching off the lead, and we're not seeing that. So with that, as you're all aware, we do have staff engineers that help support Warsaw, staff water quality people. Anytime we have any type of issues that we can't address, we always bring them in accordingly. With that, the other thing that I have is that we do pay $184,000 in taxes each year, and that was in 2018, and that's ongoing and reoccurring. Although we are not public, we are investor-owned, you know, we try to contribute and be a proactive part of the community. So do I have any questions, or?
All right, that wasn't too bad.
Absolutely.
Just curious, how many, like, are all these cities, do they all have their own separate water system, or how many cities are?
Well, that's kind of unique, where you're dealing with NIPSCO being a regional system. We have 310,000 customers across the state and serve about 1.2 million people. So with a state population around 6 million, we're serving around 20 to 25% of the customers. So each community is unique in itself. Okay.
So each community has their own water system?
They have their own water system, yes. Now there is a driver for efficiencies to identify regional positions that we can collaborate with other communities and bring value to the customer, because we all know that we have aging infrastructure. Okay, you cannot expect a 115-year-old main to last forever. Okay, has it done its purpose? Absolutely. Okay, but at some point in time, it's going to have to be replaced, and we know that. I mean, it's just like your roof on your home. If you're a homeowner, you understand I have to replace my roof. I'm going to have to do my windows. Same type of scenario here. But we want to make sure that the quality product that is going on is going to extend it into the next generation.
I was asking because I was in Development when the city plant got flooded, and there was only one
Sure.
source of water.
Absolutely.
It was like 250,000 people without water for 2 weeks.
Yes, yes, I
That's
understand
why-
it. And that's one of the things we looked at back in 2011 is that when we put up this brand-new Hidden Lake treatment plant and the customers are paying down on this investment, is it above the floodplain? Is it above the 500-year floodplain? Okay, what happens with an earthquake? Is that building going to be sustainable? Okay, what about a tornado? I guarantee you that water plant will survive after a tornado. And then, although we may be off for a short period of time, we'll be able to pull that back in with the resources we have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Just with regards to that question, you know, as Chris mentioned, 25%, they service 25% of the state of Indiana. The rest of the municipalities operate their own water utility. So locally, we do not. That's all handled by a private water utility, Indiana American Water. So, all right, Chris, thanks for the update. Any other questions? All right, our third guest tonight is Dr. Bosch. Needs not much of an introduction. He's here from Lilly Center for Lakes and Streams, keeping a different type of water quality, not drinking water, but recreational water, as healthy as possible is his mission and his organization, and I'm sure he'll talk to us a little bit about some progress that they've made once he gets hooked up. There we go.
All right, good. Thank you guys for having me here. Give a quick update. So the new grant process that the city has actually been really helpful for us to explicitly connect how we're serving the residents of Warsaw with the applicable Indiana code sections. And so I wanted to give some updates on what we're doing for Warsaw residents based on that framework, the Indiana code sections, which I think will be helpful, and we can see how we've been able to come alongside you all in these areas. So the 4 sections of the Indiana code that we work in on your behalf, the first one is promoting economic development and tourism. I'll give a few examples of that. The next is protecting human health and community service. The third one, aiding public parks and recreational programs. And the fourth one, establishing, maintaining, and operating scientific facility and programs. So let's quick take those one at a time. First off, economy and tourism. The lake economic impact of these 3 lakes that we have in the city of Lakes. The lakes generate about $2.5 million annual property tax revenue. The property values around these lakes total over $288 million, and the total county lake economic impact is over $313 million. The important thing about these numbers is they're not static. As lakes get cleaner, those numbers will go up. As lakes get dirtier, those numbers would go down. A new thing that we're working on is the Clearly Kosciuszko campaign. This is a campaign celebrating lakes as a unique part of our county's identity, and including the city of Lakes right in the middle of our county here. This is one of the billboards that is up around the boundaries of our county. We have the major roadways coming into our county with these billboards on them. Our partners are the Visitor Bureau, the Economic Development Corporation, and then the Chamber of Commerce. And there's radio ads, there's lots of social media things, and you'll continue to see this more as this campaign rolls out over the next few years, we hope. E. coli at Pike and Center Lake beaches, that was a study that we did, and you all as the city then took action with the recommendations, and we have not had the same E. coli issues to date since then, and so we're really proud about that. Blue-green algae is something that we continue to work on. We're sampling all 3 lakes now in Warsaw, both public beaches as well as out in the middle of these lakes. We're finding drivers for that. We have our own research lab now in our new facility, the Dr. Dana Miller Science Complex, where we're able to get analysis results back within just a couple days. And we're also understanding better when the algae decides to produce toxins. Continuing in the health and service area, chemical spills, fish kills, continue in our community, and we've really enjoyed, we don't enjoy when these events happen, but we have enjoyed the partnership with the City of Warsaw when these unfortunate things do happen, and I think we've made some steps at minimizing this risk in the future through some of these things. Into the Parks and Recreation area, we are so appreciative of you hosting our Lakes Festival every summer, and it's the biggest festival in our county, and we're really excited that that's hosted right here in Warsaw in the City of Lakes, and have even some new ideas for the future that I'd love to talk to you all sometime about. But this continues to be an amazing event with over 6,000 people attending each year and really celebrating our lakes well. We've been working with a nonprofit organization called Paddlers for Conservation. We did this big project, the Tippecanoe River, a few years ago, where we removed over 300 log jams, and we continue to work with them on some smaller areas and continue to try to keep these areas open, and that helps reduce flooding impacts in our community, as well as giving good recreational opportunities for people too. I mentioned the Dr. Dana Miller Science Complex is our new home on Grace College's campus, and that fits in really well with this Indiana Code section talking about scientific facilities and programs. We hope to have over 1,000 students come through this facility in this next school year, which for the first time we'll be able to do that as a great learning destination. We've already piloted a few programs in the new facility, and it's gone really well, and there's a buzz amongst teachers and administrators, and they definitely want to come to the building, and we're really excited to open the doors more specifically to that this next year. You can see some of the programs on the left there, and then on the right-hand side, some pictures from the facility. That one there of the big water puddle, that's actually a rain garden, a good stormwater feature that we hope this will showcase for residents of Warsaw to be able to see how to do that, or maybe on their own property. As well as the top right is actually one of the rooftops on the building. It's a green roof. Those are plants growing on the roof on purpose in order to help clean up stormwater and reduce stormwater flows off the rooftop. And to our knowledge, it's the only one in the county, and we're pretty proud at how beautiful it is, but also functional. That's all I have. I was asked to keep it brief, and so that's what we're up to. Any questions?
All right, Nate, thank you very much. Again, we appreciate our partnership. I know, as well as Lakes and Streams, you're involved in our education with our our stormwater MS4 community, the requirements that we have, and Grace and Lakes and Streams have been great partners that way as well. So, again, thanks for the information. That it's obvious that there's tremendous impact on not just our city, but the entire county, and your work is critical. So thank you.
Thanks for letting us help.
All right. Okay. All right. On to reports, oral and written communications. Lynn, you presented the June fund report. Any notes there?
It's higher than it was May because we got our distribution in late June of our tax distribution, so everything's looking good right now.
So we get two property tax distributions a year, June and December, and obviously this reflects typically the first half. It's usually a little bit bigger. First half.
I think people pay both installments maybe in May, and so that helps it, plus the delinquencies that they may collect in May and distribute in June.
Okay. Questions? All right. You guys are really quiet tonight. What's going on here?
It's kind of nice.
Just asking. All right.
It's enjoyable.
Well, then let's move on to new business. Jeremy, you've got Resolution 2019-0706 regarding an abatement, non-compliance of a tax abatement.
Yeah, we don't do these too often, but we have done them in the past a little bit. The state code allows individuals who may have missed deadlines or completed something prior to filing for tax abatement an opportunity to file a waiver of noncompliance in which the council can approve and then grant the tax abatement that they're requesting. So in this case, Daylight Screen failed to submit their documents before the deadline. They are requesting a waiver of noncompliance and then granting the continuation of the existing tax abatement that they applied for in the past. So you have the waiver before you. This is a public hearing, so you have to open up to the public. It's an advertised public hearing. Hear any individuals would like to speak on it, and then you can close and vote on the resolution. And then following that, if you so wish, you can grant the continuation of their tax abatement.
Okay. Before I open it up, are there any questions from the council?
How much they missed the deadline?
Jeremy? Sure, you're welcome to come up.
May 15th was the filing deadline, or we had to have it in our hands by May 15th.
Could you give us your name and your representation?
Yeah, Jason Elder, I'm here to represent Daylight. So what happened was that our company, our parent company, Milestone out of Minnesota, was purchased by another company last year. And we were in the transition of that acquisition and everything. And our finance director in Minnesota, who works with Baden Tax Management in Fort Wayne, there was some job responsibility changes and so forth, and that paperwork got misplaced. So I received a call from the assessor's office stating that they hadn't received it yet. So I immediately contacted our office in Minnesota to find out where it was at, and got it turned in that next week, but obviously it was late, so.
So I think this is the 5th year of their abatement, and I think this is the first time that's ever happened, if I recollect.
We've only done the non-compliance waiver 3 times.
I think this is actually their second time they've missed the deadline.
Do you have that information?
I don't have it, but I think in 2016, we did a resolution for a milestone.
Okay. Questions?
What does this cost us? I know it costs us the money to advertise, what, about $75, but anything other cost to the city?
I think statutorily, the city has a right to just discontinue the abatement, and this is their vehicle to come back and ask for your waiver that they may continue. So it doesn't automatically mean you're going to approve that. That would be the next step. You can review their progress and still approve or deny, but this allows you to even consider it on the next step. So, all right. Well, I'll open it up to the public. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak on behalf of or in favor of granting the waiver? Anybody wishing to speak on behalf of the waiver? Okay. Is there anybody wishing to speak against the petition? Anyone wishing to speak against the petition? Okay. Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing portion of the meeting and throw it back to the council. Any further questions of Jeremy or gentleman from Daylight?
Does this take a second vote, or do we vote on the whole thing this evening?
Since it's a resolution, it would just be one vote.
Resolution 2019-0706, that's right. One vote tonight.
I move we approve 0705.
Okay, motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'd second that.
All right. Motion made by Ron, seconded by Jerry. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thank you. So then now we'll consider the tax abatement. Jeremy, anything to present with regards to the CF1?
You have it before you. Obviously, this is for personal property. Personal property tax abatements are based on the total dollar amount that is spent, not necessarily on employment. You can see their employment numbers, as well as the money they have spent on personal property since applying for the tax abatement. They spent well over the $1 million threshold that is required for a 10-year tax abatement. So they are in line with what the guidelines are set aside for tax abatements within Warsaw. So I would recommend continuation of the tax abatement.
And again, this started in 14, so this is year 5. So we're halfway through that abatement, if you choose to approve it. And again, it looks like the investment was 1.668 Can't read it.
Yes, million.
641, 1.668 million.
Well, you're an important part of our community, and we want to keep you here. Hopefully, you guys have set up some kind of internal control, double check.
Yes, so I've updated all the contact information to myself, so I'm obviously here locally, so I can make sure that it gets taken care of.
Yeah. I don't want to make you feel bad about it, or any worse than you already feel, but,
Yeah, I was frustrated as well, so I apologize.
All right.
Yeah, I was concerned when I first heard that we were going to be looking at doing this, but your explanation of a merger, having just gone through one,
yeah, I know.
I fully understand.
All right, so is there a motion to approve the continuation of the abatement?
So
I'll
moved.
move.
Jeff? Diane, is that a second?
I'll be a second, yeah.
All right. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. Thank you. All right, any other matters to come before the council?
I did meet today, Mayor, with some advisors on the Deer Task Force and our management team, and after talking with them, I'll start the process of putting together another proposal for the council to consider as we head through August into September. So, but did meet with them, and hard to believe, I think this is our 14th year, if I'm right, 13 or 14 years, so, yeah. You were with us, yeah, so I'll keep you up to date, and we'll slowly but surely progress to September, October for your consideration and hopefully approval. Thank you.
All right. Another matter that I wanted to bring up, I know last year after our rate hearing, there was some discussion amongst the council of continuing rate structure committee, looking at potentially making small adjustments to mitigate the need for one big adjustment 20 years down the road. And I think it's important probably to put that committee back together. Jack, I think you were involved in that.
Yeah, we appointed him at the beginning of the year.
Okay.
Let's see.
So Diane, I would just ask you to make sure that you have that committee together, and they need to get active, and we'll sit down and meet with Jeff Rao and look at a strategy. All right?
Yeah, so let's see, it's Jack, Cindy, and Jerry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Who asked to be on it? Yes. I didn't put you on there without asking you.
All right. Any other items carried forward? Any visitors' questions or comments? If so, approach the podium. All right. It's just a hot day, right, everybody? All right, well then I'll just ask for an adjournment. What the heck?
So moved.
All right. Thank you.
Too short for you?
No, I used crickets.
It has been a while.